What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Django tutorial video. In this video, what we're going to be working on is the actual deployment of a Django application to the cloud. So the first thing that we're going to need is an actual host for our servers. I'm going to be using Linode. Linode is also a sponsor of this series. I've been with Linode for almost a decade now, and Linode is also who hosts pythonprogramming.net. So if you want to check out Linode, you can go to linode.com/syntax for a $20 starting referral credit sort of thing. So if you want to support me and check out Linode and follow along on Linode, you can do that at linode.com/syntax. You can use other hosts if you want. There's tons of other hosts. There's Google, AWS, DigitalOcean, tons of hosts. There's also things like Heroku and Python Anywhere. The issue I have with them is it's really easy to get started, and it can also be cheap or free to get started, but then as you grow, it suddenly becomes far more expensive to stay on those platforms. So I would suggest you don't start on them, except if you just simply cannot afford hosting. But for $20, you'll last quite a while. It's going to cost you about $5 a month on Linode. So anyway, at some point, you're going to need to learn how to use VPS. Might as well do it now. So we're going to use Linode. Also, a cool thing with Linode is we can do stack scripts. So I've actually shared a stack script, which is kind of like a shell script. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a script that is going to do all the things we're about to do and deploy like a basic sample Django application, so you don't have to go through all the steps every single time. It's a good idea to learn how to do it at least once, but then from then it's like super tedious. You shouldn't do it every time. So super cool that we can just use a stack script, and I've shared it on the community so you can launch your own Linodes with that stack script. So pretty cool. Anyway, what you're going to want to do, create an account. Once you create an account, go ahead and there should be like a blue create. You'll choose create Linode. That's, Linode is basically a VPS. Once you're there, we will choose, for now we're going to do everything our way, the hard way by typing it in. So we're going to choose older images, and I want Ubuntu 18.04 LTS for long-term support. Next, pick region. Where do you want the server to be? I always choose Dallas, Texas, nice central location in the United States. Then I'm going to pick Nanode. Use the 1 GB here, $5 a month. Pick a label. I'm going to call this Django Video Tutorial. Make a password. And then this is just a quick, I'm just going to nuke it at the end. But seriously consider doing backups. Later you can write a program to do backups for you. But until then, enable backups. I have done it every time, and I have never regretted it. I have needed backups on many occasions, and it's always so nice to have them. So until you write your own, just enable them. Okay, I'll hit create here, and while that runs, I am going to also create one from a stack script just to show you guys how convenient they are. So I'll choose create from stack scripts. Now this is my script, so it's here in my stack scripts, but if you're watching this and you want to do it, go to community stack script, search for syntax Django, and then you click on this one. Now, we'll come down here. I'm not going to fill this in. We're going to use just the temporary Linode URL, domain basically it gives you. Keep this. If you want to change the project name, have at it. Just you're going to have to change other things as well. Well, actually for the stack script, you actually won't have to do that. But anyways, if you want to change it, go for it. Production or test, this is basically for debug equals true. Select your image. We'll go with the same one, 18.04. Select the region, Dallas, Texas. We'll go with Nanode again. Label, I'm just going to call it stack script example. Root password. There we go. Again, same thing on backups. You might want to think about doing it, but for now, hit create. Okay, once you've created, go to your Linodes, and then I'm going to go back to the Django video tutorial one. You don't have to spin up a stack script like I did. I just did it to show you guys. So for now, I'm back in the one that is not a stack script. This is something we're going to write all ourselves. So now we want to connect to the server. There's a million ways you can do this. On Mac and Linux, you can literally open a terminal, do SSH root at your IP address. So if I go to networking, I can see right here, this is the one for me. On Windows, you could use PowerShell and SSH via PowerShell as long as Windows and PowerShell is updated. Also, we could just click Launch Console and connect this way. I'm not going to do that because I want to make the text really big, and if I do that, this gets all glitchy on me. So I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm super tempted to, but I've been bit too many times with that console if I zoom it in, so I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm going to use Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. Putty's also nice because you can save profiles, so you can save like a domain name and like a username. That way you don't have to keep track of them. If you're someone like me, I've got like 50 plus, maybe even close to 100 servers. So it's super convenient to be able to save their profiles. Anyway, I've already got Putty downloaded, so I'm just going to type Putty. And then to connect, I just need the IP here. Copy that, paste that in there, and then you'll get this message the first time you connect to any server. It's just a security sort of thing. If this is the first time you're connecting to the server, we expected it. If this is a server you connect to all the time, like you're connecting via domain name, for example, at a later date, someone might point that domain name somewhere else that you don't intend. And so this is just a quick warning to you that that is happening. So this is a new server though, so we're confident, we're comfy, we'll hit yes. If you ever see that message and it's not a new server, something is wrong. Anyway, we'll log in now with the credentials that we set. Boom, we're in. First thing I'm going to do is make this a little bigger so everybody can see. Appearance, we'll go with maybe even bigger font. I don't know, 22. Apply. Beautiful. Okay, first thing you're going to do pretty much every time you ever spin up a Linux anything, apt-get update. Apt is advanced package. I don't know what T stands for, but it's something like that. It's your package manager, kind of like pip with Python. This is how you install packages. So the first thing you're always going to do is an apt-get update. The next thing we're going to do is apt-get install -y, so we don't have to say yes. This just said like later, like if you don't do y, it'll be like, hey, it's going to take up such and such amount of space. Do you want to do this? You could say no. I don't know why you would. So we're just going to use the yes flag. And we're going to install Python 3 pip. We already have Python 3 on the system, but we don't have pip. So that's why we've got to do this. Also, quick note, we have Python 3.6, not 3.7. Just to save time, I'm not going to update to 3.7. If you want to do that, update to 3.7 on your own time. I'm sure you could Google it for doing that, but we're going to skip that. It's going to take a bunch of time. So, once we have pip, let's make sure pip is fully updated. So Python 3 m pip install -- upgrade pip. Cool. I think from here on, too, let me just say, you can go to the text-based version of this tutorial, scroll on down to where we start having these commands. Boom. You can just copy and paste these in. Again, also, in the future, you can just run the stack script. It's super quick and easy. So just do that. So once we've done that, the next thing we want to install is Django and that Django app that we use. So I'm just going to take this, copy, right-click to paste. Usually. Depends on what you're doing. So a lot of times right-click will work. Sometimes you got to right-click and paste and so on. Anyway, so, okay, we've installed Django and that app that we're using. So now we're going to mkdir, which is just make dir, mkdir. Anytime you lead with a slash, that's the root directory, the very first, the base directory. Make dir, var, www. Now we're going to cd, var, www. Okay, now what we want to do is basically we're going to start that project. So Django admin start project, and we're going to call that my site. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing that we want to do is we'll cd, actually let's just nano my site, and then basically we want to nano, we want to get in the settings, so it should be my site, yeah, my site settings. You can also use tab to autocomplete, so you start typing something, hit tab, and it autocompletes. So the first thing we want to do is debug shall be false. Next, what we want to do is come over to networking, and we're looking for this reverse DNS. This is for our temporary domain name. So I'm going to copy that, come over to allow hosts, paste that in. Cool. Again, to keep this short, not going to talk about domain names beyond. Here's how you do it. Make a domain name, register it with a registrar. On that registrar, point that domain name to the host's name servers. So in this case, it would be Linode name servers. Then on Linode, you go to like networking or DNS or somewhere on there. Then you'll point the domain name to a specific Linode. And then that Linode will point based on the domain name that you use, because like you can have like multiple websites hosted off of the same server in the cloud. Okay. But for the sake of brevity, this is the way we're going to do it. So allowed host, that's fine. Later we're going to have to add a couple more things, but for now, Control X, yes, hit enter, cool. All right. So also, Nano is an editor, so it's just a basic editor. Lots of people like Vim as well, but I prefer Nano. So you Nano and then the thing that you want to edit. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is start a new app. So we're going to Python 3 my site / manage.py start app, and then we're going to call this it works. Cool. Now what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to start copying and pasting again. So let me come over here. I don't want to have to like write all this stuff out. This is just for like a really quick example anyway. So let me scroll down to where we are. It works. Okay. So first let's cd into my site, and then we're going to nano my site urls.py because we have to point that to our new app. So I'm going to take this, copy. If you hold Control plus K in Nano, it deletes lines at a time. So deleted all the lines. Paste in the code, Control X, yes, enter, done. Now we're going to come over to the URLs for the app. And again, that's blank. So we're just going to copy and paste that in. X, yes, or Control X, yes. Error writing. What happened? Hold on. My site ls. Uh-oh. It almost looks like we didn't get. I wonder if I can't do this sort of pathing. I think this is what screwed us up. Let me go back one. Yeah. Ooh. That's gross. So let me rm-r, remove recursively, it works. Hopefully that doesn't screw us up any further. Anyway, yes, cd my site, ls for listed out, manage.py. Let's create that one more time. Python 3, manage.py, start app, it _ works. Okay, anyway. Let's try that one more time. Nano, it works, urls.py, and then copy, paste that stuff in. Yes. By the way, for sure by now our stack script is done. Just take note. Anyway, now let's do the views. So Nano. Okay, so we'll take this, paste those in. Control X, yes, save, okay, cool. All right, that's all the Django stuff. Okay, so now we've got our server in the cloud, we've got Django set up. Now we need to set up our web server, and then for our web server to talk to Django, we need an intermediary, and that's where WSGI comes in. WSGI just stands for Web Server Gateway Interface, and it just kind of communicates between your web server software and whatever framework you're using. So to get that, that's these commands here. So apt-get install, again, yes. Apache 2, which is our web server, and then WSGI. Yes. Someone will ask, why not NGX? Or Nginx. NGX. Why not Nginx? Because we had to pick one, okay? So we picked one. Apache. Done. Question answered. Okay, so then what we're going to do is fill in the virtual host information. So again, I'm just going to be doing some copying and pasting here. my site conf. And then, yeah, I'm just going to copy and paste that virtual host stuff. And this is a good example of basically at this point, your web server can actually serve many websites. So our server here runs a web server, and then that web server comes to this virtual host file and then looks at the host name, and if it matches the host name, it does things based on that match. So, so first we have to fill in this host name. So again, that host name, if we go here, networking, it's this. This is our host name. So basically it would be your domain name if you pointed a domain name here. But for now, we're just going to use that. So delete host name, paste that in. Also, for some reason, my copy and paste puts this on a new line. Make sure that doesn't happen. That's going to hit a nasty error. So I'm actually going to delete here. So that's up in line with this variable here. Okay. So hopefully it doesn't screw us up. Anyway, Control X, yes, enter. Okay, so that's your mysite.conf, and we're probably done. We might have to do one more thing. Let me check. Let's first do A2N site, my site. And then it just says, hey, to activate the new configuration, you can run this. I believe you can also just run service Apache 2 reload, but we'll do this. Okay, now let's go and visit this URL. Hopefully it works. Okay, for now we're getting the default Apache page. I'm trying to think of all the reasons why that would be, but one is probably our default settings are not quite what we were hoping. So let me go, let's nano. And in fact, we'll run these two commands. First, we want to delete that default config. So we're going to just rm for remove, and we're going to remove this 000-default conf because we want that to agree. So then we're going to nano that default configuration file. And then we're going to copy and paste in some really basic information here. But basically, this way, this doesn't have any preference on hostname. Save, yes. Now let's reload Apache 2 again. Okay, great. So now it works. So before we probably had a whole bunch of other setting information in there that we didn't need for the default settings because we already set those. But somewhere in there it was probably specifying a host name that we didn't care for. So everything works now, and we've served a basic Django app. Now, think about all the things that we just did to get to this point. Okay, we put in a decent amount of work. Now let's look at our StackScript website. So head over to your Linodes, or if you did it. Anyway, let me pull up my StackScript. Okay, so here, StackScript, you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this is our domain, so to speak. Copy that, come over here, paste that one. Okay, and that one's already done. So that one, really, it just takes as long as it takes to like do like the apt-get stuff and the updates and stuff like that. It, you know, it's like 2 to 3 minutes or something. So you could just spin that up, go get a drink of water, and you're probably all set. So speaking of drinking, so okay. So up to that point, that's a really basic Django app, but probably what you really want to do is deploy the project that you've been working on all this time. So how do we do that? Well, first we have to get the project files on our server. There's a bunch of ways. One, you could have started working on the server, but two, you probably worked locally and then you want to put it up on the server. There's a million ways to do this. Probably the biggest one would be like SCP. If you're on Mac or Linux, you just have an SCP command in your terminal. On Windows, you also have an SCP in PowerShell, and you just SCP from a location to a location. And there's lots of tutorials on that. Also, like on Windows, there's WinSCP, which is like a GUI version of SCP. Also, you can do SFTP to like move files to a server securely using something like FileZilla, also pretty popular. Anyway, there's a tons of ways. There's like so many ways to copy those files to the server. What I'm going to do is, since I've already hosted the website, we're just going to pull it from, because I've hosted it. Okay, so if we go to back to the text-based version of the tutorial, blah, 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 here, yeah. So we're just going to wget that part 11 Django. So I'm just going to copy that. So now what we're going to do, cd back a directory, so dot dot is backwards, and now we're going to rm-r my site, because we don't actually want that. That's a stupid little app. So, so we got rid of all that. Now what we're going to do is wget, which grabs like content offline, and we're going to grab that Django part 11 zip file. Boom, done. Now we're going to apt-get install unzip. We could also use, I think, like tar or something like that, but tar is like really just a pain in the butt to use. Unzip is really simple. Unzip Django 11. Like anytime I want to use tar, I have to like Google the commands, and it's annoying. Anyway, so we've unzipped it. Now we could do ls again. There it is. My site is there. Okay. Now, we have to do all the things we had to do before, basically. So first, we need to edit the settings. So nano my site settings.py. Come down into here, and we're going to set debug. Set that to false. Then what we want to do is grab this again. Set that as our host. Okay, great. The other thing I want to point out before I forget, Django deployment, sure. Go to the actual Django docs, cool, and click on deployment checklist. Definitely go through this. This has a lot more things. So again, I can't cover all the security things. Like for example, we're using root user. Probably in practice, you would make your own sudo users and then probably disable the root user account. Also, you're probably not going to log in with passwords. You're going to use an SSH key. There are so many like little things when it comes to like using web servers again that I can't cover all in one video. It would have to be like an entire tutorial series, okay? So anyway, here's another thing you should just check out. Go to the deployment checklist. One of the things, probably here, one of the first things. For secret key, probably save your secret key in some sort of file somewhere outside of your Django project. So in this case, they're hiding it in you know, basically the leading slash root dir etc and then the secret key. Put it somewhere outside of the project files. That way, for example, if you have like a permission issue, or later, like if you decide to share this with people on GitHub, you don't share your secret key by mistake. On GitHub, you can literally search for strings and stuff, and you could write a program that would just go through everything looking for people's secret keys. You probably don't want that to be you. So anyway, go through the checklist. There's lots of stuff here. Anyway, back to what we were doing. Okay, so we set allowed hosts. Great. I'm trying to think. I think that should be like everything we have to do at this point before we could test it. There's going to be more things that we have to do for sure. But anyways, now let's service Apache to reload. And let us, I already forget, which one was it? 914 is the one we want to check. So I'm going to close the other one so I don't screw up. Refresh. Okay, there's our tutorials. Aren't they beautiful? So what's going on? Okay, the issue is our static is not loading. So in production, we have to handle static a little differently. So I'm going to just come back to our tutorial here. And we need to edit that settings.py again. And we're going to scroll down to the very bottom. Just hold that down arrow. Okay, underneath static URL, we want to add these three new things. Cool. Now from here, what we want to do is like our static files are in many locations. If you remember, each app has its own static files. What we need in production is them actually to all be in one location. So Django has a little script for us that's already doing this. So Control X, yes to save, enter. What we want to run is, let's cd into my site, Python 3 manage.py, and it should be collect static. Great. So all our files have been moved to the same location on our actual web server, var www my site static. Now if we come back to our website, refresh, boom, everything's working again. So now we could do things like click on data analysis, hopefully. and then click on like pandas. Okay, everything is working. It looks like our styles are here, blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, there's a couple of things we need to talk about. Yeah, the two things we need to talk about are, one, as a few people, the deployment tutorial is, well, it's not yet over. Sorry, we got to talk about ownership. So actually, let's do the ownership thing first. Okay, so if we attempt to log in, login doesn't correspond. Okay, we're not going to do that first. We're going to do the URLs first. So what happened to our URLs? Darn it. Okay, so if we, if we nano main urls.py, our issue is these darn slashes. So at least in Flask, like if you have, like in a path, if you have a slash in a path, it will correspond to things that have slashes or don't have slashes. So like if you have that path in register and someone does register but not a slash, it will still direct them to that location. If you don't have the slash but someone adds the slash, it's going to fail. So I always like to add the trailing slash. But in this case, it's causing trouble. So what I'm just going to do for now, short, quick solution, is delete all the trailing slashes. Control X, yes, great. Now, refresh this page. Maybe we have to redo, maybe I have to reload Apache. Let's try again. Okay, now it works. So now we could actually like log in and register and all that. So let's try. Syntax. What happens? Okay, we hit a server error 500. So this is super useless to us at the moment. Later, you'd probably want to have some sort of error handling that, again, can either email you or save to a file, like you're using logging and stuff like that. But for now, we just get this ugly error. Luckily, I already know what the problem is. The problem is we can read from the database, but we don't actually even have permissions fully to do that because we're not able to actually confirm this thing. Anyway, what we need to do is give the user that's attempting to read that database permission to do so. So back over here, we can see the two commands. Basically, what we want to do is cd back a directory, and then we want to do channel own or chown for I think it's www-data. Let me make sure. Yeah. So that's the username for your Apache user, basically. So we want to give that user access. I want to make sure I get this right, but it should just be, the my site directory, and then we want to give them access to the SQLite database. So my site, and then we'll give them www-data my site slash db.sqlite3. Cool. And then let me just reload Apache. Cool. Now we'll just go back to login. Let's try to log in one more time. Cool. We've logged in. Awesome. Okay. So the last thing, what was the other thing? Oh, we actually had to do it in order. We had to do the URLs and the ownership. So actually, I think we're done. I think we're done. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. I don't think so. So that was deployment in Django. Okay, so again, if you guys want to use Linode to kind of support the channel, but also get $20 in credit, that's just linode.com/Centex. If you guys got questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, whatever, feel free to leave them below. If I forgot something, let me know. Also, if you've got requests for future coverage, let me know that as well. I've seen a lot of requests for the Django REST API stuff. The only thing, it just doesn't quite fit this example, but maybe like for a later project, like it looks like the main use case there would be like a single page app, unless you're like making some other sort of RESTful API type thing. But anyway, so I might cover that, but it just doesn't really fit this example. So unless I'm totally done with the Python programming and net stuff, let me know what you guys would like to see in the future. Otherwise, that's it for now. Thanks for the support, the subscriptions, the channel membership, the donations, all that stuff. and I will see you guys in another video.